So, as I explained, Dubai has been very well known for its strategic strengths, which is its location in the Middle East. We're almost 6 hours away by plane for half the world's population. So that gives us right away an advantage in terms of location. However, our neighborhood is tough, and unfortunately, you may have seen in the recent news that there's a lot of issues going on around us, which makes it a challenge. But for us, Dubai has basically continued to tick the right boxes. Is it a place I want to live in? Yes. Does it have the lifestyle I want? Yes. Does it have the infrastructure for my investments? Yes, it does. So those tick boxes are there not by chance, but we have a plan. And this plan is guided by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, you may have heard of him, who has set some clear set goals every 10 years. So currently, for this decade, our goals are for the year 2021. And we have some specific economic goals. Like explained, some of them are building on the older economic pillars, but some of them are the newer pillars, such as the knowledge economy and the services sector. I always talk about our airport. We're now officially the busiest international airport by international traffic worldwide. And we hope to achieve by year 2020, 20 million tourists per year. Now our city is quite small, and the population is basically growing very rapidly every year. So it's quite an ambitious target. But I'll show you later through numbers how this trend has been there and will continue to be there, inshallah, in the next 4 to 5 years. It is also the financial hub for the sector, for the region. We have the DIFC, the Dubai International Financial Center, which has its own governance, its own free zone for finance companies and financial sector companies. You may have heard that we recently also won the bid to host the World Expo, which is an event that fits very nicely with Dubai's theme of connecting people. People from all around the world will fly in to actually participate in the World Expo in year 2020, and we are building a bespoke site right now, specifically for this event, and that itself is a multi-billion-dollar industry that is taking away a big slice of Dubai's growth plans in the next 4 years. So we're in 2016 now, 4 years to go. Just in terms of jobs, just to get a feeler, that one event alone is going to create 250,000 jobs. Dubai is known for events. If I talk about sports only, there are 400 registered sporting events throughout the year in Dubai, including the famous ones like the Formula One events, the richest world horse race events, the richest boat races, but there are also these smaller events. There's plenty of entertainment, sports events. The Time Out magazine for Dubai is bigger than the Time Out magazine of New York. So Dubai is a very rapidly and fast-changing scene for lifestyle, sports, entertainment, and tourism. If this matters, Dubai, UAE, the country, not the city, is rated AA amongst financial houses. That is another reason for institutional investors to actually be a little, at ease with investing in Dubai. Whilst the oil revenues constitute less than 7% of Dubai's GDP. So we're not dependent on oil. In terms of retail, in terms of square footage per capita, we're second in the world after London. And in terms of per capita income, we are easily in the top 5 in the world straight for the last 10 years. So the population, the resident population, have a lot of disposable income. So if you have a retail business, for instance, or any luxury business, this is a destination you can select for your business. As you can see from this simple graph, the number of visitors, this is tourist visitors and non-resident visitors. That has been increasing steadily year by year. by a very similar percentage every year actually, which is very healthy. So it's not spiking, and that's a healthy sign. And that if that trend continues, we will achieve our target for 2020. So what I'm trying to show here is when it comes to real estate, there are many indicators, and this is only one of them, that there's a demand for more residential property. Of course, there's a much more detailed discussion to be had. What category of products we're talking about? Is it high end? Is it middle income? Is it low end? Is it tourist home? Is it permanent homes? And then basically, so I was just making a point here that many investors choose Dubai as a second home. So even if you have your home somewhere else in the world, and for any reason you like a second home, many of the products we have, for example, in Nakheel, are designed for second home purposes, which has its characteristics and special features. In terms of inward real estate investment, just one stat that may be useful. The value published by the government is that in 2015, the value of inward investments equaled 24 billion Singapore dollars of inward. Was it 2015? First 6 months of 2016. Thank you. Sorry. So that shows you the amount of credibility we have with foreign investors as of now. The growth of GDP has been a healthy, consistent 3.5% over the past 10 years. So there are global conditions that we all live in, but Dubai has been able to maintain that growth. In terms of the hospitality sector, the city of Dubai has planned approximately 100,000 hotel keys by 2020. Now that's a large number, and basically a lot of these statistics become very important when you start to see real estate as not only a key sector in its own right, but sometimes as a byproduct for other sectors. So for instance, when the hospitality sector grows, it creates jobs, and those jobs require housing, and so on. The retail sector is another testament for this, and all the other sectors contribute in the same way. The next diagram. So that's a little bit about Dubai, and Nakheel is a Dubai-based company. We've been around for almost 15 years. I think there's one there. There's one here as well, thanks. Yeah. So we, in all humbleness, basically like to say that we are one of the biggest real estate developers in the Middle East. And not only that, the projects that we have are very vast in scale, and they're very creative in terms of design, and we try every time to make sure that it actually goes hand in hand with Dubai. So if Dubai is going in a certain direction, we like to actually make sure our projects and whatever value we add is synonymous with what Dubai is trying to do. So Dubai had to set itself on the map when it came to iconic real estate projects 15 years ago, and that's exactly what we did with the Palm Jumeirah. In fact, that was also the time when Dubai decided to open up the freehold market for real estate. And that's when people were able to buy off-plan properties and pay down payments and start to purchase property on payment plans and get visas and become residents and so on. So Dubai, it's very important for you to understand that you're talking to a company who basically is talking the same language as the city of Dubai. And basically a lot of what we do varies. We don't do just a lot of one product. We have a variety of products. For example, I mean, I'll talk to you one-to-one after this presentation, but we have products that are of a varying range in terms of luxury, in terms of location. So we have products that are in the northern side of Dubai, and you'll see a map later on the wall that will show all the parts of Dubai. There's the newer Dubai, which is on the south side. Many of our projects are there. And there's the north side, which is close to the airport, which also we have about 3 projects over there. So we do high-end residential products in Palm Jumeirah. And then I want to give you an example of a very value product in Warsan, which is close to Dragon City. Dragon City, just another example that I'd like to give, is one of the largest retail hubs for the Chinese retailers outside mainland China. So I'll say that again. Largest Chinese trading hub outside mainland China. So a lot of the business there is obviously retail business, but some of it is resale, trade, wholesale, bulk, and so on. So all of these communities have feasibility in their own right, and it adds value in its own right. In terms of populations, our communities span over 270,000 residents. So we touch a lot of lives. We like to actually think that we have learned from our previous projects. So every time we do a new project, we're actually taking the lessons from the previous one and building them into the next one and the next one. So that's our track record. Our future is bright. We have a number of projects in the pipeline. We have projects in the residential sector, again, spanning many levels and areas. We have a very strong pipeline for hospitality. We have projects in the 3, 4, and 5-star categories. We have a number of shopping malls in the pipeline, including one in Deira Islands, which will be the biggest shopping mall in the Middle East. And that is actually in design stage right now. This picture, just by way of example, is actually the opposite of Palm Jumeirah. This is actually water inland. So it's not dredged land as you saw in Palm Jumeirah. This is the reverse concept. This is actually was land, but we create man-made lakes, and through that created value, and we have villas overseeing these lakes, and we call this project Jumeirah Islands. So there's another example of a product that we've done in Dubai. So I mentioned the hotel rooms. Go on. So going back to Palm Jumeirah, for those of you, I know most of you have been to Dubai, but for those of you who haven't had the chance, please try and visit it. It's actually quite large in terms of size. It's 560 hectares of man-made land. It's actually, just by way of example, I was just checking this morning, it's actually 6 times the size of Gardens by the Bay. So that's man-made. And this breakwater over here that you see is the largest curved breakwater in the world. And the shape of the island is not only nice because it looks like the palm tree, which is the local tree for the city of Dubai, but this design also gives us features that help us from a real estate perspective. And one example of that is I have 2 rows of houses on each front, one on this side of the front and one on the other side of the front. So it maximizes surface area. We can build more villas by the water. And just as a joke, the villas with the sunset view command a higher price than the villas on the sunrise view. I don't know why. No, but I think it's because people like the sunsets more. But this is iconic. We have almost 22 hotels already planned in the Crescent, some already open. Ultimately,
when you sell the 360, also the sea view more expensive than the one facing the city.
Well, for sure, but we called it 360 because it has a 360 view, not just the front and back. So, well, that's one thing I wanted to talk about later, is that in our design we factored in the core, which is the stairwell and the lifts, in a way that when you're in the rooms, you get to see the 360 view, not just the front and then you walk away to the back. No, you see the 360 view. So you're quite right. The idea is to capitalize on the view of the palm and the city and the skyline. We've been a successful company. Just quickly to show that the company has been profitable steadily over the years. Next, right? And basically, some of you already had the chance to meet my team, but those who haven't, we'd like to share with you a select hand-picked investment opportunities in a couple of projects in Dubai. This one over here on the screen is our current flagship Palm Tower, which is an iconic project. It gives you beach access. There's a monorail integrated in it. It's integrated to a large-scale shopping mall. And it has the St. Regis Hotel at the bottom of the building. So we're selling today, if you have a few minutes, we would like to show you some very nice bespoke apartments in this project, which is due for completion in the end of 2018. I've got just some sample prices that I'll show you later on a one-to-one basis. The tower is going to be the tallest tower on the Palm Jumeirah, and at the roof there will be an exclusive club that will add to the many amenities that are already there in the building. Just to show you what's in the vicinity, there's quite a number of retail already on the Palm. So we have the shopping strip called the Golden Mile Galleria. Across the crescent, we are building the boardwalk, which will have its own retail outlets. We have the point over here, which is facing the Atlantis Hotel, which will have more than 270 F&B outlets, and that is due for opening in the beginning of 2017. And basically, this product will be connected to the St. Regis Beach Club to the west side of the Palm. This is just another view from the Palm Tower, just to appreciate the scale of the project. This is the roof of the mall, and this is the product that I'm talking about that is integrated as part of the shopping mall. Another project which is a little bit different, it's also on the Palm. This one is actually ready for handover now. This is actually an excellent product as a second home. So for those of you looking to actually perhaps have a holiday home for the winter, this is actually something we've just started handing over, and it has excellent views towards the Burj Al Arab. Next one. You can see this is the view from the balcony, and basically you can see the Burj Al Arab, and we'll show you some prices. And we've taken care of the design so that your service charges don't go high. We've actually designed the corridors in a way so that we keep the maintenance fees to a minimum. And the amenities that we have in this area is a long list, but one of my favorites, I do a lot of jogging and cycling, is the Al Ittihad Park right in the middle of the Palm Jumeirah. And basically this consists of a 2-kilometer running track in 2 directions with a garden that has indigenous local plants, and tourists just love it. If you come to this park, you'll see tourists coming just to specifically see these plants over here. I touched on the boardwalk as well. The boardwalk is about to open now. We're going to have some excellent concepts of F&B on it, so you can actually on the boardwalk just go for a nice walk, enjoy the Palm Jumeirah's crescent, and enjoy these amenities on the crescent. Okay. Just to keep the conversation fresh, I'd like to hand over the mic to my colleague Greg, who will touch a little bit on how much of yields to expect and what kind of numbers to expect when investing in Dubai.
So on this screen here, I've just put a couple of examples together just to give people an idea of the rental yields that you can actually achieve in Dubai. So the first comparison that you can see is a rental yield for a townhomes, and then I've also obviously put together just a sort of a rough formula in terms of how you get the rental yield. So if you look at the breakdown of the rental yield, you can probably see that there's something that's probably missing from the formula that you'd experience in this market. So does anyone know what's missing from that formula? Tax, exactly. So in Dubai, if on your rental yield there's no income tax. So obviously you've got your maintenance fees, which obviously then inflates your rental yield. So the top one is for a townhome, and the second example is for an apartment, but it's an apartment that's in a more prominent location, so your net yield is a little bit less, but then in a prime location you usually benefit from the capital appreciation for that area. I'll just go on to the next slide, but does anyone know roughly what the average rental yield is for Dubai at the moment? Anyone want to guess?
About 6 to 7%.
6 to 7%? So here is just an example of some of the major cities that people like to invest in. So as you can see, looking at this chart, that obviously Dubai is by far the best performing real estate asset probably in the world as of today. 7.6 is high, obviously, because you don't have the tax component in the project. In Dubai, you can experience rental yields of north of 10%. We have some developments in Dubai, International City, as well as Discovery Gardens, where some investors actually have yields of in excess of 12%. So here, this is just a sort of a pictogram, just to give people a sort of a snapshot of what's happening in the market. So for those of you that are not familiar with the rental clocks, if you look at the market, 12 o'clock is the peak and 6 o'clock is at the bottom. So for investors like yourself, you want to be entering the market at this point here, obviously to get the growth. And the other good thing as well to mention is, Dubai is a very transient city. So, you have a lot of people coming to Dubai and moving on. So the rental market is very attractive because people stay 1, 2, 3, 5 years. So they prefer to rent out their properties. This is just the same pictogram, but obviously this is for Asia. So you can see Singapore is obviously softening at the moment. I think rental yields, it's around 2.8 to 3%, but I'm sure that you will correct me if I'm wrong. So that's just a little bit on the rental yield. So now we're going to look at financing. If you're looking to leverage and invest in Dubai. So usually there's two sort of buckets that most banks will sort of drop you in. So property values of less than 5 million, the banks will give you a loan to value of 75%, and anything that's above 5 million, you can get 65%. In addition to that, you also fall into two categories, whether it's a built form property or whether it's an off-plan property. Obviously for most of you here, you're going to be international buyers. So most banks, the maximum they will lend is 50%. That doesn't matter if it's a built form property or if it's off-plan. So on the screen now, you've just got a couple of sort of generic questions that most people, when looking to invest, will ask either myself or Akram and his sales team. As I've just said, it's 50%. If you're buying property in Dubai, you need a local bank account. The average is around 20 million in terms of what you can borrow. Interest rates are pretty much international standards and the norm. So for residential end users, it's 2.9%. You can get a 3-year fixed term mortgage, and then it becomes fixed, variable or floating depending on the the mortgage that you've taken out, and then at the end you can see where it's in bold. For international buyers, it's 3.24%, which is obviously very competitive in today's market. 10 years of up to 25 years. The standard documentation that most people require is a salary certificate, usually 6 months bank statements, as well as a copy of your passport. And then just at the bottom you can just see a couple of the example fees that's usually charged when financing with one of the banks. So sort of just to highlight what we've just said, so the benefits of investing in Dubai. So the main ones is obviously you get a high rental yield, roughly around 7.6% is a blended rate for Dubai. Strong capital appreciation, no tax on rental income, strong no capital gains tax, you've got capital appreciation, low transaction costs when investing in Dubai. It's an established market, you know, there's transparency there. We have escrow accounts, so money that's coming into Dubai, it's secure, it's not going to go anywhere else. And also you have the visa options that are available when you buy property in Dubai. So bearing all that in mind, with the benefits of Dubai, you can see on this chart here, so this is from the Dubai Lands Department, so you can see from sort of 2010 up until 2015 you've got strong year-on-year growth and property transactions. So you can probably see that for 2014 it's actually a little bit less than 2013. That's not a slowdown in the market. That's because in 2013 Dubai government changed the stamp duty from 2% to 4% to control the market a little bit more, so people had a little bit of leeway to register their property. So some of the sales from probably 2014 have been allocated in 2013. So it's not that 2014 was a bad year. So the next one is the Palm 360, which Aqil will come and talk to you about a little bit more in some detail. And then obviously once we've finished with the presentation, myself, Aqil and the rest of the team will be available to answer any questions that you have, whether it's investing in Dubai, rental yields, mortgaging, registering your property in Dubai, and the legal systems that we have in place.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you. The last point he made. So by the way, the registration fees is actually 2% because the seller bears the other 2%. Just to clarify that. On the government legislations, the government of Dubai, and specifically the Dubai Lands Department, which is responsible for the real estate governance in the city of Dubai, has made sure that investors are protected, both from a landlord perspective and from a tenant's perspective. So for example, if you were an investor and you invested into a rental product, there is a very efficient judicial system in place that is there to quickly act on disputes. I don't know how it is in Singapore, but for example, if there's a dispute between the tenant and the landlord, it doesn't take time to resolve the dispute. And there's a judicial system that will make these quick decisions. So you will not have your apartment stuck for months and months because of, say, a rental dispute and so on. And the rights are protected for both parties. There's also a very transparent rental index that is publicly available through the website of the government that creates an index for every zone in the city of Dubai. So this encourages transparency at both ends. The Dubai Lands Department is also mandated to go and the smart technology. So everything is very convenient and fast. There are applications for everything. If you're busy, you cannot go personally to these government authorities to get your transactions done. There are convenient alternatives that are there in several locations and online to do these. But you'll have the chance to ask further questions about it for sure. I just wanted to, sir.
In relation to the land, because you're talking of Airbnb, let's say I'm an investor in a unit, I do not want my neighboring 3, 4, 5 or more units doing Airbnb, because then again, you know, are there any regulations regarding? And also incidentally, I think New York just implemented restriction. Not more than 5 apartments in a single block can be done on the lease for Airbnb for more than 30 days in a month. And at the same time, they hit Airbnb by prosecuting on their advertisement. So if anybody advertises on the website, you know, for apartment for Airbnb rental, they get hit with penalties 1,000 or 2,000. So what is the situation
Correct.
in Dubai regarding Airbnb?
Thank you for that question, sir. That's a very valid question. In fact, this has been a hot topic for the last couple of years, and Airbnb only recently has all of a sudden mushroomed and become a very real thing for consumers as well as landlords. Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. The government has put in legislation recently to govern this. I was just talking to someone earlier, just by way of example, that instead of resisting Airbnb, the government decided to embrace it and create laws that benefit everybody. And one example of that is you as an investor or an owner of, say, a property or an apartment, you're actually allowed it's like subletting your property for a short duration as a holiday home. And this is actually now licensed by the tourism authority in Dubai as well. So Airbnb is here. Airbnb is here to stay, it seems. And this is basically a global phenomenon. It is not specific to Dubai. And basically, yes, this has actually created new opportunities for us. The tourism sector has actually benefited from Airbnb more than anything else. We, in our case, we are selling residential property. And for that, you'd be benefiting from this legislation of holiday homes. And like you said, sir, the advertisement is now in the process of being regulated. I'm not sure what is the latest penalties for advertising, but this is actually now being embraced by the government in terms of legislation.
You see, I follow up to what you have said, because you see, as investors, I think generally we are more keen to have long-term, or at least 2 years, 3 years kind of people who lease. Because the leasing market, we very don't like or find that every people move in the middle of the night, in and out, 2 times, 3 times a week, very disruptive. And therefore, my apartment in that building will be then become, you know, assuming become well known as an Airbnb. You know, my tenant will not want to lease it from me.
Correct. So that's not allowed. You need to have a permit to do short-term leasing.
But what extent or how much?
No, I'm saying that it's against the law to do short-term leasing if you don't have a permit. So basically, this is being regulated by the government, and you're quite right. So your question, I think, was you want to have a 2-year lifespan for your investment. I think that's what you're saying, and you have a tenant.
You see, the problem now is I don't have control. You see, I'm investing because I want to do a long-term, 2-year, 3-year lease.
Correct.
But the prospective tenants will not be attracted to that building if it's known to be able to get permit to allow Airbnb, people come in middle of the night every now and then, and therefore my unit has to be stuck in that apartment, and therefore it
Correct. So the number that Greg showed you, the 7% rental yield, this is assuming long-term leases, not short-term leases. So normally, short-term leases are higher in rates than long-term leases. So the numbers we're showing you here is for the annual leases, not short-term.
Okay, so in other words, if we cannot beat them, we join them.
No, I'm not saying that. No, you need to have a permit to do short-term leasing. Basically, this is, for example, we have these apartments in Azur, which we will be explaining to you after the event. We will show you the apartments. To qualify it for short-term leasing, you need to go through a certain process.
How the appreciation, like how the appreciation over a period of 2 years, 4 years, how much the appreciation you can get, what is cost appreciation?
Correct. I think I keep joking that I cannot predict the future, but we have trends. The past, we basically have a trend that is going upwards, and the capital appreciation has been very positive in the last 6 to 7 years. And basically, we expect this trend to continue. We cannot give you estimates. It's like, as of now, we can give you the rental yield ratios, which are very healthy. The capital has not appreciated. The capital appreciation has not been very strong in the last 1 year, which has been even better for rental yields. But before I go further into questions, I'd like to selfishly tell a little bit about something I'm very passionate about, and something that I'm working very hardly for. This is our future. This is our next success story, inshallah. This is the next iconic flagship project for us, right at the top of Palm Jumeirah. It's called Palm 360 because it renders views of the entire Palm Jumeirah and the Arabian Gulf from the entire 360 degrees angle. It will be branded residence of a super luxury level, and basically we are in detailed design stage right now, and basically it will soar more than 220 meters high, and right at the top we'll have 12 penthouses, each one of 12,000 square feet in size. So imagine from this view over here, you have this picturesque Palm Jumeirah drawn in front of you, and the sea and the ocean all around you. This is something that we're working hard to actually make sure we have the right mix. So we'll have a boutique hotel component at the bottom of each tower. We have not announced the names yet. With that hotel in place, we'll brand the residences, and the names will be of a super high-end caliber. The pool is something we take pride of. Was it 35 meters? Is it? 35.
55 meters long by 38 across, which is about 6,000 square meters.
Is that the biggest in the world?
Yes, it is.
The biggest pool in the world at that height,
Suspended.
suspended with infinity views of. I'd be scared of the Palm Jumeirah, with Sky Restaurant, and at the bottom obviously we'll have the beach facilities and the beach restaurants and the relevant beach clubs. So this is an exciting project. Right after the event, I request you just pass by to the model, which is just on that side of the room, with a small short video behind it that will give you a feeler as to what level of a product we're looking at. So that's the next success story, inshallah, for us. And we'll have approximately 250 apartments all in, inclusive of 1 and 2 bedrooms. So if you have any questions, I'll be available right after the presentation. I'd like to open the floor for some questions now, and then we can have the individual meetings.
How easy or how hard to find the tenants for the rental?
I don't think that's a problem. I think it depends on the price you're asking for. There are many mediums and formats people use. People use online advertising, people use brokers, people use print. All the traditional methods of selling are all very vibrant and active in Dubai. The good thing about Dubai is, as a real estate professional, the real estate infrastructure in terms of having the right professionals and the right talent is very easy in Dubai. It's a very thriving real estate community.
The market price has kind of stabilized in the last 2 years, right?
Correct.
Do you have an explanation? What is it? The price correction? Is it the few years back has been going up too fast, or what's going on?
So the question was, has the market prices stabilized or corrected? Absolutely, yes. I mean, 2015, there's been a bit of a correction overall. It depends on the location. The prime locations generally tend to hold value better than the other locations. So we cannot have a ballpark assessment of what's going on. But you're quite right. There is a bit of a correction, but like I said, that's actually healthy, because the years before that, the prices were going up in very aggressive numbers. So a little bit of correction is very normal. In fact, this is one of the reasons, as Greg explained, in your rental yield formula, it's actually helping render better yields.
Can you tell us about
Sorry, go ahead.
Can you tell us about the visa options for property?
Right. To be honest, I'm not an expert. However, I can tell you there are at least 2 to 3 options. The first and most popular option is for a purchase of a minimum of 1 million dirhams, Singaporean dollars, about 300,000, about 300,000 Singaporean dollars and above. You get a 6-month renewable visa. The second option is a scheme launched by Dubai Lands Department called the Tamkeen program, which basically sets up a company whereby you would be the sponsor of the company and you get basically an indirect residency. I can share some of that information with you, but I suggest you coordinate directly with the Dubai Lands Department for that. And then the third option, as I know, for Singaporeans, you're not required a visa anyway. So basically, those are the options available to you.
Let's talk about Dubai implementing taxation in 2017. How will that affect the investments in the property investments?
Sure. Again, I'm not an expert on VAT, but you're quite right. There'll be value-added taxation on consumer products. I personally don't see a direct impact because I showed you the demands are there. The demands are not temporary. The demands are not subject to VAT coming into force. So it's business as usual for us actually over there. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Payment plan, is it like time plan or is it construction linked?
Sure. We basically are here today with some very attractive options, sir. Generally in Dubai you'll find payment plans on off-plan property. We are actually providing such payment plans on both off-plan as well as ready for handover properties.
Okay, as a follow-up to the question, for the off-plan, how do you make payment? Is it progressive in terms of stages of completion, or is it a certain deposit, 10-20% down, and then the full amount of completion?
Absolutely, a good question again, sir. The payments have to be as a minimum in line with the construction milestones. Basically, I cannot ask you to, as a seller, more than what I've built. So basically, there's a law that governs this as well, for sure.
During the last crisis, right, they came up with the RERA, which is the regulatory agency.
Yeah.
That would protect your funds then, because some developers were taking your money, paying for one fund but starting off another project.
Correct.
So what have they done now to address that and make sure it's
Excellent question again, sir. Yeah. So I think the crisis hit around about 2008, and those projects where I think that happened would have launched, I think, 2005 and 6. So in 2008, there was a new law issued that there shall be no such off-plan projects without the escrow accounts put in place and all the requirements from RERA. I think you know the names of the authorities that are governing this. All these requirements have to be met in order for permits to be issued. So for instance, developers can no longer develop a product unless they cannot sell a property off plan unless they've either completed at least 20% of the project or they've got some other form of a guarantee. So that's an excellent question. In fact, if you're into development, we have some lands also that we can talk about. If you're looking to do off-plan sales and build something for your own company. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Are there many managing agents available in Dubai?
For sure, there are plenty.
In UK or in USA?
Yes, there are many.
And roughly how much will they charge to the customer?
Depends. If it's entire project management, I mean, there are percentages you can check, but the sales and brokerage generally is about 2%.
That's different. So somebody is taking a brokerage for you to find a tenant or sell your property, but somebody who will look after, a company to look after
A to Z.
the property, any problems, any maintenance, anything, they go and get it done.
Yes.
They charge you a fixed amount of percentage of the rent.
Correct.
On
I don't carry those numbers with me, and I think it would depend between companies. The going rate in the market is 5%.
5%.
Yeah, but I don't want to commit to a number. It depends on, I think there are qualities of companies and so on.
The return of 7% you just mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Is it net or gross?
That would be net after the service charges are deducted. But again, sir, just to be careful, this is like a very generic number, depends on the location and the product.
Right, so after we knock off the managing agent's charges also, they come down to 6 points.
You'll have to deduct that from there, yeah, obviously, yeah. Yeah.
And there's no income tax for that?
No income tax.
So there's no tax payable on the rent?
Nope. There's a fee, but no tax.
One more question, sorry. What's the exit scenario? If you want to invest now and want to exit 3 years later or 4 years later, what restrictions will apply?
No restrictions, you're free to sell.
And you can just advertise and sell? You can
Correct.
advertise yourself?
There's a 4% transaction fee, 2% on the buyer, 2% on the seller, and that's it.
And
So
you
it
can
has
sell
to
to
do
anybody?
that if the property is tenanted,
Yep.
hard to sell then?
It depends. Some people see that as a incentive to buy, so it's already rented out. They actually look for properties that are already rented out. And there are those who prefer to buy it empty. So yeah, it can be sold with the tenant. Yeah. Sorry.
The area of the flat that is mentioned in your write-up,
Yes.
is this a carpet area or a built area?
GFA. I've got 2 numbers actually. In this slide it may be GFA, but I have with me both carpet area and GFA.
The price is on the carpet area or on the whole unit?
The yield is on the investment. So I put in an amount to invest and purchase the property. The rent means it's whether it's GFA or carpet area.
My
It's
question is that, if it is written 516 square feet,
correct.
is it actually from wall to wall 516 square feet?
Yeah.
Or it is built up area like which includes?
Generally, I'll give you both. I'll give you both. I'll give you the carpet area separately, and I'll give you the GFA separately. For the balconies, there's a formula how we calculate balconies. Yeah. Any other questions? Sir.
Question
Yeah.
about the strength of the rental market, because the reason why people invest in London, New York, Paris, Hong Kong, Singapore is because they are very, very strong hubs. But in Dubai, there's a lot of real estate related business, transportation with the port and the airport. But outside from that, is there a very, very strong labor market there, which basically guarantees us that we can easily find.
For sure, sir. The answer is 100% yes, because as I explained in the beginning of my presentation, I think it came in later, right, sir? Well, I was talking about the indicators of the economic growth for the city of Dubai. If the tourism was to increase only by 5%, I'll be out of space. This is without the jobs being created. It's without the improvement of lifestyle where the neighboring cities, they want to actually move to Dubai and so on. So the answer is yes, and that's the whole point of making this investment attractive so that you can lease out quickly. Nakheel itself is a landlord of hundreds of buildings. We are a very large asset owner. We have our own buildings also that we rent out. We, for example, have a waiting list. So basically, the answer is absolutely yes. Yeah. Yes, sir. Thank you.
This gentleman mentioned about the mortgage. What I understood that you don't give any mortgage facility for the foreigners. Am I right?
We're working with several banks at the moment, and they will give mortgages with a loan to value of 50% for expatriates as well as international buyers. It's off plan as well as built form. It's 50% loan to value.
Is it the local banks there?
We have a mixture of banks, but predominantly it's local banks in Dubai.
So on your slide you mentioned it was
3.24% for.
You said 3 years, so the loan is only for 3 years?
No, it's fixed for 3 years, and then you can renegotiate with the bank, or you can remortgage, or you can go onto a fixed variable or a floating rate. It depends what you negotiate with the bank. Sorry?
What do you use the benchmark, like London's LIBOR or Singapore's?
It depends on the bank, but LIBOR or IBOR would be the two. The going rate for Dubai, you can get 2.99% at the moment.
So the 3 years period is like something like to help developers, not for the consumers.
It's more for the consumer. If you know, for me, if I was an investor, I'd want to know what my outgoings are. You know, for the next 36 months, I don't want to be checking my account and seeing what the mortgage installment is. So you know, if you're uncertain about the market, it's better to have a 3-year fixed mortgage rather than worrying if there's going to be a fluctuation in the market.
And then you mentioned that the market has bottomed out. And what basis do you say to your market bottomed out now? The price?
Just an extract from JLL, just to show you that there are independent reports out there that show these statistics. We also say the same thing, but we wanted to show you that there are independent reports that suggest that as well.
You also have the RERA rental index as well, where you can actually go and check the numbers that I'm actually presenting to you now. You can check those numbers with the rental index.
We do want to. We just wanted to make a point that we don't want to purchase a product at its peak, basically.
Any of the properties, are they all freehold, leasehold?
They're freehold, sir.
Freehold.
Freehold. You get title to the property. Same thing, sir. So Nakheel has more than 16 master communities. That's 16 mega cities that we actually are responsible for. We have a very big asset management division whereby we render services to these communities, and for that service there's a service charge at cost, and basically we make sure that we basically have the best quality services for the best available price.
So if you purchase an apartment, you get a pro rata title to the land.
Correct. Yeah.
So how do you decide who is the best developer, Nakheel, MR, or the market?
I think I'll leave that for you to judge, sir. But what I'd say is just have a look at the map that is over there. And in the end, we are all real estate professionals, and we know whatever I say or anyone else says, in the end, location matters. And our properties differentiate themselves from all the other properties due to its location.
Generally, which are the properties which are easier to rent out? Are these the big ones like penthouses and 4 bedrooms, or the studio units or 2 bedrooms?
Correct. I think there's no one answer to that. I think there's a demand for properties in all sectors, but it is the lower income properties that I'd probably want to look out especially for. We'll talk to you about a product called Warsan Village. It's a 3-bedroom townhouse product that's ready for handover right now. This one actually is a very sought after project in Dubai, because over the last 20 years everybody's been focusing on middle to high, and basically mostly high, and basically it's the middle that we've sort of not taken care of as much as we want to. So this is something I would recommend for you to seriously consider if you're looking at purely from a yield perspective. But I think we'll have the one-to-one discussions, and we'll show you what kind of products we have and why you should consider them.
Excuse me. I want to ask you the same question again.
Okay.
What is the difference between the area that you mentioned there? Say, if you say 500 square feet,
Yep.
what is the actual area a person will get to live there? Suppose it is 500 square feet.
Yes.
The difference between the property, which is the carpet area, and the built-up area, what is the difference?
So the carpet area, as you described, sir, is the distance between the wall to wall.
Yes.
Whereas the GFA is including the walls and the air wells and so on. So we'll share with you both.
No, I'm saying that if I say that, okay, I want to buy 500 square feet, will I get 450 square feet to live in, or 400 square feet to live in?
Depends. If you want a 500 square feet product to live in, we'll give you that, and we'll show you that the GFA is 550.
550?
Yeah.
So it's about 10%, is it?
Well, no, but depends on the product. Depends on the product. Some of them are having more common areas, some of them are having less common areas. So, but it's all available.
So what is the minimum common area and what is the maximum common area?
Depends on the project. There are projects where the lobby is as big as my house, and there are projects where the lobby is non-existent. So it depends on the project. So basically, for instance, for Azure, which we have, which I'll show you later. Oh, sorry, that one there. This one over here, for example, Basically, it's a very simple design, and it's very easy for me to show you the dimensions of the carpet area. And basically, the corridors are very efficiently designed. Whereas with the Palm Tower, which is much more complex because it shares spaces with the hotel, the shopping mall, the basement parkings, and so on, there's basically a very complex strata structure, which is all audited by the government. And we do independent surveying and send it to the government for approval. So in the end, you don't need to worry about space wasted or hidden somewhere, for sure. Did you open that slide? I need the Palm Tower slide.
We're going to look at the top one.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but to that question, what will be mentioned on the title deed?
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong, is the full built-up area.
Will be the GFA, correct. Not the carpet
What
area.
GFA?
Gross floor area, sorry.
Gross full area.
Yeah.
Gross floor area. So that's what you will get on the title deed.
Correct, yeah.
So the prices are based on the net livable space, the net livable area, or on the GFA?
Both. The rate per square foot, we will share with you both. If you want it on a GFA, depends what you prefer. If you like to communicate on carpet area only, we can do that. But in the end, you have a share of the common area, basically as an apartment owner. So for instance, if there are corridors or lifts or whatever, you have a share of those common areas. This is all registered as part of the building registration in the Dubai Lands Department.
Yeah, but that will not be mentioned on the title deed. The common area share will not be on the title
Rashid,
deed.
is the share mentioned in the title deed?
It depends.
Probably not, but there are registered drawing with the government, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.